Hey, what is up, you guys? Welcome back to my channel, or to my channel if you are new here. My name is Ivy, and today I'm going to be filming everything that I read in April and May. I did not film a wrap up last month, so I'm going to be putting all of my April reads in here. I'm definitely going to start keeping a little note in my phone saying the thoughts that I have about a book as I read them, because looking at the books that I read in April, I feel like I read them 3 years ago. I have forgotten so much about them, so hopefully I can come up with thoughts that make sense, that give you a good idea of what I thought of the book. But I'm super excited to talk to you about these books. And I have a big stack of books behind me that are some of my June, hopefully I can get to TBR list. So starting off strong with a 5-star read, I read Daisy Jones and the Sixth by Taylor Jenkins Reid. This book, I definitely feel like I have a different opinion than everybody else I've seen talk about it. I love Rachel Catherine on YouTube, and she loves this book. There's a girl named Megan on TikTok, I'll link her TikTok below, who also loves this book. And I was under the impression that this was all dialogue, as in it was like if you took a scene out of any other book and wiped away everything else but the dialogue. And that is not true. It's an interview style book, so it definitely doesn't, I mean, it feels different, but in a different way than just dialogue. If you don't know what this book is about, it is following a band from when they get together versus when they split up in the 70s, and it is based heavily on Fleetwood Mac. So my overall thoughts on this book was, through the entire thing, I was like, this is a solid 4-star read for me. I liked it, but it wasn't my favorite. And then up until the very end, till the literal last line, I was like, okay, this is a 5-star read. Probably more of like a 4.5. I think that the ending for this book was not just like a good ending. It was the only acceptable ending. It was a perfect ending. Everyone that I've heard talk about this book was like, I am in love with the characters. I feel like I know them, I love them so much, and I didn't like dislike the characters, I just didn't really feel that connected to them. It definitely felt like a movie to me, so I'm sure once I watch the movie or whenever that comes out, especially since Sam Claflin is in it, because I love him, I'll definitely have a bigger attachment to Billy's character, which I didn't hate Billy, but he definitely wasn't my favorite. My favorite character was his wife, which I cannot think of her name, and I really did not like Daisy as a character, and all of the other characters I just thought were kind of meh. Like, I didn't love them, I didn't hate them, I didn't feel super connected to them, and I definitely think if I did, and I probably will once I watch the movie or whenever that comes out, I would have loved it a lot more. This I definitely do want to reread. I have like a running list of books that I want to reread next year, and this is on it, and I think I want to listen to the audiobook because it has a full cast. So definitely recommend this. It's my first Taylor Jenkins Reid book, and I definitely loved it. The next book that I read was Green Lights by Matthew McConaughey. I actually wouldn't even know if I would say that I read this in April. I started this in November when I went to the beach for my birthday and never really picked it back up. I rated this 2 stars. It is not your typical memoir. If you love Matthew McConaughey, I don't know, I have such a, like, I'm not really sure what to say about this book because it was not for me at all, but I feel like if you love Matthew McConaughey, you might as well still try it. I also think that this book is one of the most beautiful books I've ever read in terms of like the inside. Like, the pictures are just really pretty. The pages like all have something different in them. It's just a very pretty book, and if you like audiobooks, I believe this is read by him, and obviously his voice is iconic, so I think that that might have made it a lot better. Definitely is not like about Hollywood and about like movies and about production. It's not about that at all, so definitely don't go into that expecting it. Maybe just go into this with like 0 expectations. It just was not my favorite. I found it kind of boring. I didn't love it. Okay, then we have another 5-star read, which is The Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires by Grady Hendrix. I devoured this book. I loved this book so much. Saw it originally from Haley Pham and Rachel Catherine. I think Haley Pham rated this 2 stars and Rachel rated it 3 because they both said it was too gory, but for some reason, and I have been going off of their recommendations a lot, and for some reason this book was just like, I was drawn to it. I really wanted to read it. Like, I wanted to have my own copy, and I'm so glad that I did because I loved it. If you do not know what this book is about, it is about this middle-aged, suburban, stay-at-home mom. She doesn't really have anything going on. She's kind of bored. She joins a book club and they go back and forth, I think, between thrillers and true crime. And this guy comes into town and they're convinced that he's a vampire. I loved it. I want to read everything else by this author because it was so good. I just really, really enjoyed it. 10 out of 10 recommend. If you don't do well with like super graphic stuff, you might not like this, but it does start pretty early on in the book. So once you get past that first scene, if that absolutely turns you, I just wouldn't continue it. But it personally, like, it didn't really bother me. 100% recommend. You need to read this. The next book that I read was The Duke and I by Julia Quinn. I, of course, read this after season 2 of Bridgerton came out. I feel like I'm trying to think, what is his name? Jack Edwards. I feel like I had the exact same opinion of this book as he did. If you don't know what this is about, it's a Regency romance. It's what the show Bridgerton on Netflix is based on. I feel like everyone and their mother knows what this is about, so if you don't want spoiled for the show or the book, I'll put a timestamp somewhere and you can just skip because this is the only spoiler review that I'm gonna be giving. He said that like the first half of this book is really good and has like Regency kind of wording, and then the second half just really falls flat, and I would 100% agree. I really, really enjoyed this book for the first half. I was reading it and I've seen a lot of TikToks where they review all of the books and they say that this one's the worst one. And I was like, the other ones must be fantastic if this is the worst one. Like, this is really interesting. And I just enjoyed it. And my favorite thing about books is like when I just want to read the book and I just enjoy it. Like, it's not boring. It's not like, it's just enjoyable. And once Simon and Daphne got married, it like took like a 180 turn. It was just not enjoyable. I think that Julia Quinn tried to make Simon's character irritating, so you almost justified what Daphne did, because the misogyny after they got married was like so disgusting. You still could not feel like heartbroken for Simon. Like, I did not like Simon's character after they got married, and after that one scene, I literally was like so heartbroken for him. I just wanted to go through the book and like comfort him. I also did not enjoy the spice in this book. It didn't really bother me the first couple of times, and I will say that the spice is kind of in the plot, but it was just too much for me. Like, there was just so many unnecessary scenes, and I've come to find that spice is just not really my thing, and I did just tend to skip over it unless I knew it was one of the scenes that was going to be for the plot. I will also say that if you are like wanting to have children and you can't have children, or you're wanting to have children and like it's just not the right time but you still really want them, I would not read this book, because I found it to be like super, super triggering for that. Like, I cried when Daphne was talking about wanting to have children and like not being able to have children because of Simon, because it was just like so heart-wrenching to me and made me extremely sad. So I would not pick this up if you were currently going through something like that. But yeah, I did enjoy the first half. The last half, I didn't like. I did rate it 4 stars though. Now that I'm thinking about it, I don't really know why, but I still feel like confident in that decision, if that makes sense. So yeah, if you liked the show, I would recommend this. People say that there's better Regency romances, but I honestly am just not like up on my recommendations enough to know what those are, and I've already bought up until Colin's book, I believe, so I am gonna at least continue through those. I'll probably end up finishing the series because I do want to read them while like watching the show. So if you love the Bridgerton series and you want to read this, I would recommend it. They're not bad. Maybe just don't invest in all of them because there is a ton. Just borrow them from your library or on Libby. The next book I read was a highly anticipated read for me. I was so excited to read this. I was so excited to like buy this. Like, as soon as I saw it and I saw someone's recommendation, it was Carter Sullivan's recommendation for it. I believe she rated this 5 stars. I was like, I need to buy this. I'm so excited to read it. And it is The Golden Couple by Greer Hendricks and Sarah Pekinen. I'm not sure how to pronounce her last name. So this book is dual POV between a woman and the woman's therapist. So the woman cheated on her husband and she convinces him to go to therapy, and she takes him to this therapist that just lost her license because of her kind of socially unacceptable practices. She's definitely like a tough love type of therapist, I think I would describe it. And I believe this would be classified as a thriller. This book was just not what I was expecting. The way that Carter described it, or at least the way I remember her describing it, was that it was like you couldn't put it down, that you were really excited to see what happened. Everything like made sense at the end. And I personally just felt like this book was like a whole lot of nothing. There wasn't a whole lot going on. I didn't really care about the characters. I mean, I did like the two main girls, and then the twist at the end, I just like, to me, felt really like lazy, and it wasn't my favorite. I forget what I rated this. I think I rated this 3 stars, but honestly, I would probably say like 2.5. It wasn't my favorite at all. Then the next book I read is The Sun Is Also a Star by Nicola Yon. I'm so sorry, I don't know how to, I literally feel like I never learned how to read. I've just memorized like the majority of the words. This book is a YA romance. It was super popular, probably in like 2016. It is about a girl named Natasha who lives in New York City and is getting deported. And she's supposed to be getting deported that night. So it starts out at the beginning of the day and it goes through like the whole day. So the whole book is one day, is what I'm trying to get at. And she ends up meeting a boy named Daniel, and they spend like her last day together, and it's their love story. This book was super cute. The reason why I was intrigued to read it is because Rachel said that you get like an insight of all of the other, she would be going through security and you would get like a paragraph of the security guard and like how her presence like affected the security guard, or how they affected their waitress or the secretary. That was super interesting and intriguing, and kind of felt like everything in the world was like, it's like a small world kind of thing, and everything connects, like the butterfly effect. I will say towards the end of the book, I also think that because I was reading this book on the way to the beach and I was in the car, I'm not the best car reader. I get pretty sick. So I think that that had something to do with me just wanting it to kind of end. I was kind of over it and I was just wanted it to end, but I'm not sure if that really had to do with the actual book or because I was in the car. I heard, everyone that I've heard talk about this book said that they were happy that it had a realistic ending and not like a fake, like rose-colored glasses, like cotton candy ending. But I actually thought the ending was like amazing. I was so happy with the ending, and it was not what I was expecting. I was kind of expecting a sad ending, and it was such a happy, beautiful ending. I honestly loved this book. I rated it 4 stars. I think I rated it 4 stars because of I was so over it and wanted it to end. But honestly, I think I would rate it, like I think if I changed my rating, I would rate it 5 stars. Because I think the only reason I thought that, because I was reading it in the car, and this is a book that I borrowed from my library that I will 100% be buying my own copy of, because I had so many lines that I wanted to underline and so many things that I wanted to tab, which I don't really typically do, and I just really love that book. The next book that I read, I also read at the beach, is We Were Liars by E. Lockhart. I bought this book so long ago when it had its huge popularity on TikTok. This book is about a family of, it follows, I think, 4 kids between like the summer when they're 8 and the summer that they're 15, I believe. 3 of them are cousins, and then 1 is the cousin's best friend. There's like a little bit of love in it. There's a little bit of mystery in it. I don't really know what my feelings about this book are. I don't know. I was intrigued. It wasn't boring. It's definitely written in a very interesting way. I forget what the word is. I need to like go back to English class. When, like, the things that would be described, like if she felt like she had done something wrong, it would say that like she had blood on her hands, or when she would get anxious, it would say that like her hands were bleeding, or when like their dad left them, it says that she gets, like her dad took out a gun and shot her. And I couldn't tell like if that was actually happening, because it's like in like the 2nd or 3rd page, and I was in the car. I was like, oh my god, her dad shot her, but he doesn't actually shoot her. So it's written in a very interesting way, and I think that like the ginormous plot twist at the end, I don't really think it made sense. Just with what you find out about the characters, I didn't really understand why the plot twist happened. But I will say, everything that, like every part of the writing that when I was reading it, I was like, this is kind of like weird. ends up making sense after the plot twist. So I do love a book that it ends and you just keep thinking like, oh my god, like that happened because of this, that happened because of this, that happened because of this, and all you want to do is like talk about it with someone. So I did love that aspect of the book. I just felt like the plot twist, I'm not really sure if, I think that their intention was to have a plot twist that made you go, oh my god, I can't believe it, and not, oh, that makes sense. And it was definitely, I think that she sacrificed it making sense for the shock factor. And it was like a huge shock factor, and they did give you like context clues, kind of. I just feel like if you've read the book, you know what I'm saying, and if you haven't read the book, like, you don't. It's just one of those things, because this book is truly different than anything else I've ever read. And if you're interested in it, if it intrigues you, I would definitely pick it up. It's a very quick and easy read. I believe that this is YA. I got through it in a day. Oh, there's a picture of the author. It's a girl. Okay. I couldn't remember. So yeah, I would say that if this intrigues you, pick it up. If it doesn't intrigue you, it's not, you absolutely have to read it. Next book that I read was Birthday Girl by Penelope Douglas. This was a book that, again, Rachel Catherine and Haley Pham had both read it, and they said that it was not the book for them, and it had a lot of spice, which Penelope Douglas is known for. And for some reason, I think it's the cover, because I think this cover is a very nice cover. I felt the need that I just had to read this book, and it's on Kindle Unlimited, so I got Kindle Unlimited, or like the free trial for it, and I read it. And it started out and I was like, you know what, like, I might be a Penelope Douglas fan, like this might be my cup of tea, I might really like this. The spice didn't bother me at first. I loved the anticipation for the couple to get together. I like to go into books blindly, so I think that's why I forget to talk about the summary, but I think that there's certain books that you can't go into blind, and this is one of them. This is about a girl, I forget what her name is, but she is 19, I believe. She's working in a bar. She has a boyfriend. She's kind of just, you know, working through life, trying to get out of that, like, adolescent stage, like, have enough money where you don't have to worry about rent, have steady relationships, that kind of thing. And her boyfriend they don't have the best relationship, but they were best friends before they dated, so she doesn't want to break up with him because then their friendship dies. And she ends up meeting this guy at the movies. She, like, can feel something for him, and then she finds out that it is her boyfriend's dad, and they end up having to move in with him because they get evicted from their apartment. And so it's a boyfriend's dad. I think that's the trope. I think he's like 43 in the book, so it's quite the age gap. So it's age gap, and then it's boyfriend's dad. And like I said, I liked it at the beginning. I enjoyed Jordan's character. I was looking forward to the main, like, Jordan and Pike, that's the dad's name. I was looking forward to their scenes together. I didn't mind the spice at first. And then it, like, I just got very over it. One big thing for me is I hate misogyny in books. I absolutely hate it. I'm not an alpha male girl. I'm not a men are better than women type of girl, which I believe coexists with alpha male. I just don't like it. Women don't need men's protection. Men are not women's gift in life. Like, I don't like that. And that is how Pike felt to me, and he, like, his whole character just bothered me. Like, it's hard to care about the romance when you hate one of the two main characters. And then it got to the point where every single scene after the couple got together, which I feel like isn't really a spoiler because it's a romance book, every scene had some sort of spice in it. It was like their inner thought was them, like, thinking about having sex with them, like, and it just got to the point where I was like, oh my god, like, I cannot take this anymore. Like, I don't care. You guys are already together. Like, do whatever you want, end the book. And it got to the point where I would finish a chapter and I would be like, okay, this is the last chapter. I would flip my page on my iPad. It was another chapter. It was another chapter. It was an epilogue. And then there was like a 15 years later. I was like, oh my god, please just end. I was so over it. So yeah, I don't think that Penelope Douglas is my cup of tea, and if they're your favorite author, like, this is no hate to you. Read Spice if you like it. I definitely can see why people like this book because I did enjoy it for the first half. Just the second half, like, I hated it. I hated the second half. I think I rated this 2 stars. I would say it was like a 2.5. because I did enjoy the first half and I did enjoy Jordan's character. I just think that there was too much taboo in it for me. Moving on, we have another 5-star read. The next book that I read, My Dark Vanessa by Kate Elizabeth Russell. If you are one of the 2 people that have not read this book yet, you need to read this book. You need to read this book. It is about a girl. It is dual timeline. It is her in high school and then her in her 30s. After she gets groomed in high school and then in her 30s, the guy who grooms her, people start coming out and saying like, he's a pedophile, he groomed me, and it's the Me Too movement. And it's just kind of like her, like going through her journey of coming to terms with what happened to her. And it is just a beautiful, beautiful story. This is probably the first book that when I was reading it, I thought to myself, like, the writing is just so good. It makes me so sad that this is her only book because I would read anything by her. I just loved this book so much. I cared so much about the main character. Like, I felt like I knew her. I'm not really like a crier when it comes to books, and I like teared up through one of the lines in this. This book is just, it's incredible. It is, I feel like every person needs to read this book, and I could go on and on and on about how good it is. And I honestly don't even remember like that much happening. It's just so good. 5 out of 5. Definitely read it. If you've never seen this book before, like, this is your sign to put this on your TBR, to go out and buy it if you have an Ollie's near you. It's there for like $4. You need to read this. Okay, the next 2 books that I read, I'm just gonna put them together, are the first 2 books, The Risk and Sidetracked in the Mindfucked series by S.T. Abbey. This series is about, it's a romance. I guess it would be considered a dark romance. The woman, Lana, is a serial killer, and the guy, Logan, is an FBI agent. So it has a really intriguing plot. It's definitely like a fun read. They're all on Kindle Unlimited, and they're pretty much novellas. They're all like 100 pages. So they're very easy to get through if you're kind of in like a slump or you're not really sure what you want to read. I will say that these aren't like the most serious books I've ever read. It feels kind of like Criminal Minds fan fiction. That's how I would describe it. It is still like fun, and the story's intriguing, and like everything ends with like a little cliffhanger. I probably will end up continuing the series because it's so like quick and easy to get through, but it's not like the most incredible, mind-blowing, earth-shattering book I've ever read in my entire life. Overall, I think I gave both of these 3 out of 5 stars. So yeah, good, not fantastic. If they intrigue you, I would definitely say pick them up because they're super quick, super easy. So now we're getting to my 2 DNFs this month. The first one, I felt awful for DNFing, but then I watched, while I was pulling all of these books out, I watched, what is her name? Sarah Caroli. Her May wrap up, and she also DNF'd this book, so I felt better about it. It is Book Lovers by Emily Henry. I was so excited to buy this. I got 126 pages into it and just decided to put it down because it was putting me in an incredible reading slump. In such a big reading slump. And it's not that I didn't like it, it's just that I like didn't care. I didn't care about the characters. I didn't care about what was happening, and I could tell reading it that I would like it. It just wasn't the time for me to be reading it. So I just told myself there's no reason to push yourself through a book and end up hating it when you could just put it down and pick it up later when you're in the mood for it, and you might love it. The next book that I DNF, I got 20% of the way through, and that is 1,000 Boy Kisses. It is about it's childhood friends to lovers, if you can even call it that, and one of them ends up moving away, and they're supposed to stay in contact, and one of them completely like ignores the other, and then they end up moving back together, and you like find out why they lost connection or whatever. I genuinely don't know how people even finish this book because it was so bad. The main characters are truly like horrible. The guy main character, he is unbearable. I pulled out my iPad just so I could show you the line. This is him describing the girl. Unique in a town full of carbon copy bimbos. She didn't want to cheer or bitch or chase boys. again, if you can only give a woman compliments by tearing down other women, it is not for me. This guy main character riled me up so much. I genuinely couldn't take it. It was constantly bitching about other women, only complimenting his girlfriend by tearing other women down, saying about how he doesn't understand why all these other women are after him because he just wants to be with his girl and I just want to spend time with my girl. Like, gag, gag, gag. I was just so... It is just not the way to hook me with a read. If you like that, good for you. Read it. It's just not my thing. And I thought that I could maybe get through this by hate reading it, and then so I was like, I'll read the summary, and if I care about it, I'll read it. When I read the summary, I was literally flabbergasted by how silly it is. So I tried to picture other friends to lovers couples that I enjoy, and my two favorites are Julie and Bryce from Flipped and Rosie and Alec from Love, Rosie. I love those childhood friends to lovers books and movies. They're incredible. They're like two of my favorite couples ever. They're comfort couples to me. And the difference between those couples and the couple in A Thousand Boy Kisses is that those couples have relationship development and they have character development. You literally didn't know anything about these characters. You didn't know anything about their relationship. It literally started out, they're 5 years old. Do you want to be my friend? Yes, I want to be my friend. They're 8 years old. I don't want you to kiss other boys. I only want you to kiss me. Okay, we'll date. And then they're in love. And that's great. It's not that I didn't believe that they were in love. It's just that I didn't care. Yeah, I could not stand them. I would not recommend this book. Honestly, even if you're interested in this book, don't read it. Like, I read 20% of this book and I had to rate it on Goodreads and just say that I read it because I needed to give it that 1-star review. It was not good. Don't recommend it. Honestly, 0 out of 5. It was not good. The last book that I read this month is my favorite book that I've read all year. This and my Dark Vanessa are probably in my top 2, and that is Malibu Rising by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I think the reason why I love this book so much is because everyone who I trust their opinion that I heard talk about this book said that they just thought it was okay. It wasn't anything to write home about. It wasn't as good as Stacey Jones and the Six. It wasn't as good as Evelyn Hugo. So my expectations were so low, and I devoured this book. I loved it. I wanted to read it every second that I had free. I cared about the characters so much. I felt so connected to all of the characters in this book. I just loved it so much. A lot of criticism that I hear about this book is that towards the end you get the POV of like random characters, and you definitely do, and I will say that it does kind of tend to get a little irritating because you just want to read about the characters that you know and love. But I think that the reason why she did that is because it does feel like a movie. Like, it feels like you're kind of like watching the scenes of a movie. I think she would write incredible movies. I feel like she should do that because Daisy Jones and the Sixth is going to make an incredible movie, and this feels or felt like a movie to me. But yeah, I loved this book. 10 out of 10 recommend. It follows 4 siblings who are all, I guess you would consider them like nepotism babies. But yeah, I loved this book. It was so, so good. I made a TikTok about this, so if you don't follow me on TikTok, you definitely should. But one of the reasons why I think I enjoyed this so much is because there are so many similarities in the cast of characters in this to the cast of characters in Shameless. I mean, like, very, very similar similarities. I could leave you a list in the description box if you've already read this and you like didn't put it together. But there were just so many similarities, and I love Shameless, and I think that's one of the reasons why I felt so like strongly about these characters, because it reminded me of Shameless. And I've actually looked up books to read if you like Shameless, and I've never seen this on the list, and put that up there because the parents are literally Frank and Monica. The first 4 children in this are literally Fiona, Lip, Ian, and Debbie. Like, they have a restaurant. Like, it is just so similar, and there are so many similarities, and I definitely think that that's why I felt so connected to this, because I feel so connected to the characters in Shameless. So 10 out of 10, 5 out of 5. 5 out of 5 read. Definitely pick this up. It is incredible. I loved it so, so much, and I think I'm starting to realize that literary fiction might be my favorite genre, because 3 books that I rated 5 stars this month are, or these past 2 months, are literary fiction. I am gonna quickly just rapid fire through my May TBR. The first book that I have on my TBR shelf is Atomic Habits by James Clear. This is going to be my nonfiction for the month. I've already started this and so far it's pretty good. Next up we have Confess by Colleen Hoover. I am planning on doing a reading Colleen Hoover for a week. This, I believe, is about an artist who has a confession box outside of his studio and paints pictures that are like the confessions that he received. For that video, I also have Reminders of Him, which is about a woman who gets out of jail, I think. Ugly Love, which I think is best friends or boyfriend's best friends, and then friends to benefits to lovers romance. I don't really know that much about it. And on my Kindle, I also maybe might read Heartbones, Regretting You, Layla, or Too Late. I also have Second First Impressions by Sally Thorne on my TBR for this month. I might pick this up if I get to it, or if it is calling my name. This would be my first Sally Thorne book. She is the author of The Hating Game, and this is about enemies to lovers, and I think that they both work at like a retirement home. Then we have We Run the Tides by Vendela Vita. If you saw my last vlog, my Baltimore vlog, I was planning on picking this up at a Barnes & Noble and I didn't because they had it at my local library. This is about two best friends who witnessed a crime, I believe, and they both give totally different accounts of what happened, and one of them ends up going missing the day after. And then we have Bunny by Mona Awad, which is such an anticipated read for me. I am so excited to read this. My sister just picked this up for me the other day and I cannot wait to read it. My current read, which is Funny You Should Ask by Alyssa Sussman. This is about a journalist and a movie star, and it is dual timelines, and so far I'm really enjoying it. I'm about 100 pages in. Then we have Everything After by Jill, I'm not sure how you say her last name. This is a recommendation from my mom and my sister, so I moved it up higher on the TBR. Then we have In a New York Minute by Kate Spencer. This is also a library find. I just picked this up because I thought the cover was super cute, and she did a little blip, I'm not sure what they're called, for Funny You Should Ask, so if that ends up being a really good read for me, I'm definitely gonna read this one. I have Little Fires Everywhere by Celeste Nug? I'm not sure. But since I have been enjoying literary fiction so much, I thought that this would be a good one to pick up. I absolutely loved the Hulu series for this. Every Summer After by Carly Fortune is also a highly anticipated read for me. I am so excited to read this. My sister just picked this up for me as well. Thank you so much, Nina. I cannot wait to read this. Better Than the Movies by Lynn Painter, which I did not get to in April or May, and I believe it was sitting on my TBR shelf for both of those. I'm super excited to read this, and I hope that I love it as much as everyone else has. I put The Viscount Who Loved Me by Julia Quinn on my TBR shelf just because when I find that I don't really want to read anything, Bridgerton always seems like a good one to pick up. I cannot think of the word that I'm looking for. And then last but not least whatsoever is Vampire Academy by Rochelle Mead. This is a reread for me. I read these in high school. I can't remember if I got through the whole series. I definitely got through the first 5, I believe. You guys are sitting on the rest of the series. You're my tripod. I absolutely love this series. I cannot wait to reread it, and I hope that I love it as much as I loved it the first time I read it. So that is all for this video. Let me know what books I absolutely need to read off my TBR, or if you've read any of the ones that I read in April and May. Let me know your favorite books that you read in May, or what your TBR is for June. Definitely leave a comment below if you made it through this whole video, because it is a chunker of a video. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe, and I will see you in my next video. Bye guys.